our final club leadership education. This one, of course, is on projects and fundraisers, and will complete our 3-week adventure that we've had here in the Georgia district. Of course, this is a continuation. Hopefully that you have logged in each night. If you haven't, then we're going to talk about, I'll give you my email in a second. Of course, back in June, Kiwanis International offered club leadership education, which was a good program. If you haven't seen it, it's recorded and you'll have access to do that. I know we just got this week the numbers. We had a good number from the district that actually participated in that while it was live. Do you know right offhand how many we had, George?
No, but I sent that to all my lieutenant governors yesterday. I eliminated all the other divisions of the world, our districts of the world, and I'm looking. Hang on a minute. I'll be able to tell you in a minute. I'll count them.
Okay. And the difference between what we're doing in the Georgia district and what Kiwanis International did, Kiwanis International is kind of a generalized overview to kind of indoctrinate somebody into understanding what the big picture is. This is more of a small picture of what we're doing in the Georgia district, because Kiwanis International there's no way to kind of model their training that would be good for each district. So they do a kind of a generalized, and then this was more specific as far as what we've got going on in the Georgia district. So it's kind of a follow-up to that training. Today, we're going to talk about fundraisers, projects, and the finance session. These are our objectives. Our objectives is to discuss effective fundraising, to discuss ideas for community projects to positively impact our local communities, and to learn the importance of creating and managing your club's budget. A few housekeeping things, just so you're aware of it. On the chat, if you have not already, as people were signing in or joining us on Zoom tonight, George was reminding everybody to please sign in. Go into the chat feature, make sure you put your full name and also the club that you're a member of, as well as if you have an office in the club, list that as well. If you're a member of multiple clubs, then make sure that you want to give each club credits, so make sure that you put each club there. This is my information. So if you have any questions or need any additional information, you can email me. My email's kind of long. I work for the government. They don't do anything simple. So that's my email. And of course, that's my cell phone number if you do need to reach us. One thing that I'm hopeful that I have mentioned at the other trainings that I have led, one of the goals that I hope to get out of this training is to create, I call it a resource guide, so that clubs can go to on the district website, and if they have fundraising ideas they're looking for or projects they're looking to do, they can go and look to see if other clubs in the Georgia district are doing that. And if so, then so they're not trying to start from scratch to build the wheel. They can go to one of those clubs and ask for tips and how they started and what they have done to make it successful. That doesn't necessarily mean it will carry over and be exactly the same way, but it kind of gives you a starting point. So if you will, whether you want to do it on the chat or if you want to email me and give me just a kind of a list of things that your club does that have been, successful fundraisers or successful projects that your club has been doing, that would be very helpful, I think, to the entire district. And one thing as we're going through the training tonight, hopefully you've been a participant in the other training. And, please, I haven't put everybody on the mute, but because I do want some interaction. I mean, I've been around a few years now, and I've been a lieutenant governor, of course, and been in my club for almost 30 years now. So, I mean, I can give examples of what I've seen in my division and what I've seen in other clubs and that I have visited. But I think it would be more beneficial for people to chime in and tell me what they're doing. Of course, fundraising is the first thing we're going to talk about. Why they're important? Because, I look at it as the main thing we do as Kiwanis is we serve our local communities. We try to improve the lives of children. We try to improve the lives of everybody in our community just to make it a better place. Fundraising is our avenue to support the projects that we do. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, we're not, our sole focus is not about fundraising, but we use our fundraising to support our programs. I was talking to, we're going to talk about some fundraising ideas I happened to see it on Facebook. One of our clubs in Tattnall County um, has one of, I guess, probably their biggest fundraiser. And in the past, they've raffled off different items. This year, they're doing a 50-50 raffle. And so, which I thought was a great idea, or I think it's a great idea. They're selling 300 tickets at $100 a pop, and then they'll use the winner with the winner. They're actually the top two winners will split the 30,000 from that. I guess, yeah, that's right. 30. So one gets, or is it 30,000 total? So they'll get 15,000. I think the top, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Byron, that the first place winner gets 12,000 and the second place gets 2,500 or something like that.
12,500 winner and 2,500 second place.
Right, and then the club gets the other 15,000 that the Tattnall Club is using for camp for children that they have in Tattnall County. So, without this fundraising, it impacts that camp for kids. So that's the importance of fundraising. You got to make the money to spend it, and that's what we're about in Kiwanis. Is it's not about us trying to make a whole bunch of money for Kiwanis. We're trying to do it so that we can spend it, so we can help others. And I use Tattnall as an example for what they do, and that's pretty big. Some clubs may be intimidated to think, well, 300 tickets at $100 a pop, that may be more that we can take on. Well, what if you did half of that? I mean, that's still, your club would have a fundraiser that would bring in $7,500, and for most clubs, that would be a significant fundraiser. But these are other few ideas that I've seen, some of these I actually Googled Kiwanis fundraisers, and these were some of the top things that came up. And of course, some of them are based on holidays, whether it's gift wrapping, Christmas trees, whatever the case may be. Clubs host sports tournaments, talent show. That's one of the things my club does. And I encourage you, if your club is not doing some type of talent show, then it's something to look in. The district actually has been doing the district art and music show for, golly, at least 30 plus years. They've been doing it as long as I've been in Kiwanis, so I know they've been doing it for a while. And so the winner of your show can go on to try to win at the district level and probably have an opportunity to win even more money. Barbecue dinners, chili cook-off, pancake breakfast, gun raffle, the list goes on and on. Does anybody that's on the Zoom want to talk about a little bit of one of the fundraisers that their club does?
Yeah, this is Mike Sullivan from North Gwinnett. A member of our club had a friend that lives in Valdosta, and it's a non-Kiwanis group that puts on, I think, the largest father-daughter dance in the United States. And so after a number of years, David brought that to our Kiwanis group, and we've been doing it for about 10 years now. It is, in our area, we're able to sell tickets for a couple in the $50 range, and we'll bring in between sponsors and tickets, and then we'll raffle stuffed animals and that kind of stuff. We'll have about 800, 900 people over the 3 dances, and we'll raise $15,000, $20,000. Gross is around 45,000. So it costs a little bit of money to put on, but we have people that come back that have moved away. They've moved to Florida, they moved to Alabama, and they will come back for the dance because it is that kind of a community event.
Mike, I appreciate that. And, father-daughter dance is something that's really big, nationwide. And and the fact that, you use the example that, another club in Valdosta was doing, and someone from your club brought it to North Gwinnett, which is wonderful. But even in, in your communities, most communities have more than one civic club. So, don't ever exclude the potential to partner with another civic club, because then it's win-win. The more people that can be engaged and involved. So if you're a small club, don't just write it off and say, well, we're not big enough to be able to do that. I mean, it kind of be intimidating to think about, well, we're going to put all this on and all the expenses. But if there's another civic club, approach them and say, hey, this can work out for both of us. And, and I think at least, and my communities, what I would say is a rural community, that we have a population, total population base in Fisk County, somewhere around 22,000. So it's not like we got a lot of people, but my club, if we wanted to take a big project on like that, we would probably need some other assistance. So, reaching out to, our partners in the civic world, I think is a good idea. And,
Yeah.
so don't, exclude yourself.
Well, and the other thing that I'd like to say, talking about the size that it is now helps people appreciate what it can grow into. But I promise you, we didn't start that large. So don't feel like just because you're taking something on that has growth potential that you got to gear up for a large scale out the door. You can start small and grow it.
And there's a lot of things out there, now, and I don't know exactly, I'm gonna mess up what the name of it is, but Tim Tebow has like a prom set up that's for people that are mentally challenged, and so that they can have a prom. And I know some, that was one of the things I'd read about, that a Kiwanis Club kind of helped. I think it's the Tim Tebow Foundation that sponsors that, but I think a local Kiwanis Club could take that on and kind of, modify it into something like the father-daughter dance and do something very similar. So there's a lot of good ideas and programs out there for Kiwanis Clubs to take advantage of and partner with other groups or what you would say bigger organizations to make it a success in your community. Anyone else would like to share anything?
I'm Betsy Watson from the Columbus Club, and we do a 30-30 gun raffle, and we spend $15,000 on the guns, and we sell 1,000 tickets for $30. So we gross 30,000 and we net 15. And for us, we get a lot of participation from our club. Everybody's selling tickets, and so it's been an easy thing to do and to get something that our members kind of get around. So we have a lot of hunters, and so we've been doing that. This is our 4th year.
So y'all do 30 guns in 30 days? Yes. Okay.
And we've got about 10 tickets left if anybody wants some. We moved it. We normally do the drawing in September, the month of September, but we moved it to November because it was hard to get the guns, but we've got the guns. And so the drawing is November 1st through 30th, and you can buy tickets up until October 31st.
That's wonderful.
Carol, I want one of your tickets.
Great. Well, just message me and I'll help you out with that.
I'll do it.
David?
Yes.
I also like to say that Tattnall County has a first Saturday of the month raffle every month, obviously every month, where most of the time it's some sort of firearm. And a lot of times ticket sales go, we only sell 50 tickets at $25. And a lot of times they're brought up, depending on the firearm, raffle within an hour sometimes, but not more than a day. And I want to assure everybody that it goes through a licensed gun shop, so we just don't give them the gun and say, here, you have at it. It's all done legally. But that's very successful.
Hey, David.
Yes.
Kiwanis of Griffin does the annual Spalding County Fair every year, and this year with the COVID cloud ever present, we're anticipating a lot of our older members are not going to come out and help out. So as an example of working with other clubs, we have enlisted the help of the local Lions Club, Exchange Club, and one of the Rotary clubs to help us out.
Well, that is wonderful. And that's good that they're able to come help y'all, and it benefits everybody.
Make Stefan kill his brother. Dark, even for you. Thank you. So, I go with Matty Blue Eyes.
I'm going to move on from fundraising, and we're going to talk
it.
about programs and projects. Of course, services, that's the heart of Kiwanis. Now, Kiwanis International a few years ago had asked clubs as far as your signature project, and there's actually a contest for Kiwanis International where you can submit information and win as being a signature project. Every club, whether they want to admit it or not, has a signature project. And what that means is that's your signature project is what you're known for in your community. So even people that may be somewhat unfamiliar with Kiwanis and what it does, they're aware of your signature project. I've shared, and I think I've shared this each week, the community I grew up in did not have a strong Kiwanis presence. And when I went to college, I went to Georgia Southern in Statesboro. And of course, Statesboro, like Griffin, has a big fair. So my first knowledge of Kiwanis was when I was a student at Georgia Southern, because if somebody had asked me back then, what is Kiwanis? I'd have been like, that's the people that put the fair on. So even going back 30 plus years, you know, I could tell you what the signature project for the Statesboro Club is. And that would be for somebody like myself at the time that had no familiarity or understanding of what Kiwanis was. I was able to identify what that club was known for locally. So every club has that. Hopefully it's all positive. And so I assure you to, you know, find out, you know, identify, talk to people in your community and see what they say about Kiwanis. But, you know, and take your signature project and take it to the next level. I mean, you can always improve on the existing programs and projects that you have. One thing in here, they need to be fun, you know, regardless of what you're doing. And I've shared that one of the things my club does, which it's an example of something that is not very fun, but we participate with. It's a state program. It's called Keep Georgia Beautiful, and most counties have their own. And I live in Crisp County, so it's Keep Crisp Beautiful. Well, what it involves is you'd adopt a mile of roadway and you pick up trash however often you want to do to keep your roadside clean. So there's not a lot that's fun about picking up trash, but if you go out with a group of Kiwanians, you can have a good time doing it. So it's about, you know, it's about having fun together, not necessarily the act of what you're doing is not that an enjoyable act, but you know, you gotta have enjoyment doing it, and just socializing with members of your club can be a fun event. But a few ideas I listed on here, I mentioned, as far as Keeping Georgia Beautiful, book distributions, Christmas tree recycle, painting or refurbishing playgrounds. There's a lot that clubs have the opportunity to do, and there's always a need. You know, regardless of what's going on in your community, I assure you, you can probably go to your school board superintendent or something that impacts kids in your community, your recreation department, and say, is there something that we can do to help out kids or to help our community? I assure you, they would tell you, yes. I mean, I don't believe there's a community out there that you would walk away from meeting them and they'd say, oh, well, we have everything we need. We don't need y'all to do another project. So I assure you that there's opportunities, a tremendous amount of opportunities.
Can I speak to a small club project?
Certainly.
All right, we have, I'm from Marge Holler from Doraville Tucker, used to be just Doraville. Now it's Doraville Tucker. We had to move our location to the Tucker side of 85. And we have an annual, it is our signature project, but not in the sense of raising hundreds of thousands of dollars. But we're known in the community. It's at a middle school, and we have an art and music fair that we put on every year. We have different ways of fundraising. Part of it is local businesses in the Doraville area purchase ads in the program that we put out. But the children, the middle school children, have an art contest from their art program. They also, at that night during the show, they put on a small, usually funny play, and then the band and the orchestra have a music program. The parents are all invited. Up until this past year, we have always provided snacks for the student participants. And we do two major things from that go back to the school. There are small little $25 cash, $25, $20, and $15 cash awards to first, second, and third place in all of the various categories to the children themselves. Then after the school sets its budget, so we can't usually give them the money till the following year, the money that we've raised, and we're talking, it's usually only $1,000, $1,500. One year it was $2,000 we were able to raise after paying all of our expenses, that is given directly to the school for those programs, for the drama department, the music department, and the art department, which are underfunded a lot in DeKalb County. Now, this past year, we finally were, in terms of growth, we're going to put on a dinner for all the parents and everyone, and had 2 restaurants involved, one Hispanic and one cafeteria style, American style, 2 restaurants involved that were actually going to donate all the food. And anyway, great plans, and then COVID killed it. So, but I immediately got on the phone to everybody, and they're all in line. We usually do it in the spring. So they're all in line for us to develop it this far. But what was nice was the last time one of the high schools said, will you do this with us? And we said, yes, but we'd rather you involve, because it's high school, can we have all of the DeKalb County high schools, or the high schools in Doraville, and now it'll be Doraville and Tucker, involved in this. And so, and we've grown and grown and grown. And I have spoken, it didn't actually come off, but I have spoken to both the Rotary Club and the Lions Club, because like you, they were willing to help us, not just with volunteers, but selling advertisements for the program, etc. So we started off small, meeting in the auditorium of a church. And what worked out great was DeKalb County changed its rule, and schools could not meet in a church building. And so, but we were able to do it in the gymnasium cafeterias of the middle schools, which actually worked out much better because more of the parents showed up. And because of a whole bunch of things, some of which we looked into and some of which we thought about, we actually are growing. And one of the things that our club talked about was we want to get the project going, and maybe have 2, but get the project going to the point where we actually could qualify in terms of what we're raising and what we're doing to actually get a scholarship for the school program from that. But it didn't take, one hesitates to say this, but we were under 15 members of the club when we first started doing this, and now we're right at 15 members of the club. We have a lot of volunteers that will help us in other things. They just don't seem to want to join Kiwanis. So I was very interested in that, the flag program, something that will get the Kiwanis name out there, to maybe get some of these folks that are willing to do it to actually become members and join the club. But I'm sorry to talk so long, but I'm real excited because it's not a huge program, it's not a big program, but it has a great impact on the students themselves in our own local middle school. And I think that's what we're all about.
Absolutely, and that's a tremendous example of what we can do as Kiwanis. And I look at it as, to me, whether it's something like an art show, or Mike Sullivan talked about our service leadership programs the other day, and I always use an example of one of the programs is like Terrific Kids, are all examples of your club can make, it can be on the small scale, or you can make it and run with it. I mean, as simple, you could take an art show and just go to your local high school that has most schools have an art teacher, and say, we want to do one, and, encourage your students and more or less, work with them to set it up. You don't have to do a whole lot. You can kind of let the school run with it, and then you're just going to recognize those winners. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that clubs can start with, but then you can take that and you can run with it and you can add to it. So there's a lot of possibilities as far as what clubs can do to impact their communities and to recognize and honor kids and students and so forth. I want to give just kind of a little background as far as some of the things we do project-wise that Kiwanis International's done, we do on the district level and so forth. Of course, Kiwanis International, we've had 2 worldwide service programs. One is IDD, which took place in the early 90s, and there'll be a slide on that, and then Eliminate. our district projects, and there's going to be slides on each one of this. So this is just an overview. Is, of course, we have the auditory verbal, the art music showcase, the district foundation, Tomorrow's Leaders, Kiwanis International Children's Fund, and Key Leader. Foundations, there's two. One is the international and one is the Georgia district. Now, if your club can also have a foundation as well. And one thing to is kind of distinguished, of course, Kiwanis, your regular Kiwanis club or the Georgia district or Kiwanis International is not tax deductible. It's a nonprofit organization, but it's not tax deductible. If your club has a foundation, like Kiwanis International has the Children's Fund, the district has the district foundation. If your club has a foundation, then that can be the tax deductible aspect of Kiwanis. And then, of course, local and community ideas, I listed a few of them. Of course, several clubs do have fairs. Those are big events. Noonan used to have an air show. I'm not sure they still do that, but one thing is that the COVID-19 has impacted as far as makes clubs either adapt and change. One of the things, and I saw this once again, and I'm not a member of Tattnall County, but they not only do a lot, but they publicize what they're doing, which is the second important aspect of anything your club's got going on, whether it's fundraisers or projects, is make sure you publicize it to give yourself credit. And I don't know if Tattnall County back in January or February was intending to do this, but they ended up purchasing I don't know how many picnic tables they put at a local school to help that school as far as social distancing during lunch. And the weather's still nice, and so students could go outside and maintain social distance. And so Tattnall may have already been planning to do picnic tables. I don't think that they were. And so COVID adapted and they had the ability to change. Byron, when did they decide to do the picnic tables? Probably in the last month or two?
Yes, they saw a need from the elementary and middle school, and they bought 4 tables per school and had them delivered. So it was something that arose due to COVID, along with taking first responders and the medical people snacks and drinks through all the police stations and fire stations. So it's something that was identified during the COVID. It wasn't a normal scheduled event.
And that's one of the things that I think COVID has allowed every Kiwanis club to do, is to look at things and say, okay, what's something we can do that we hadn't necessarily thought about before that can make an impact on our community. This is kind of a general overview. I'm not going to read it all about the Kiwanis International's first worldwide service program, which was iodine deficiency. And that was because there's a lot of countries in the world that don't have iodine salt. And so it was an opportunity to do that. And it was a successful program. Really the only countries in the world that don't have iodine salt now, after Kiwanis did the worldwide service projects, are those countries that we're just unable to get into because of war and everything else like that that's going on, which is unfortunate for those countries. Eliminate started back in, I guess it's been almost 10 years ago now. So, but you know, we've raised a tremendous amount of money and we've saved hundreds of thousands of lives from preventing mothers and children to get neonatal tetanus. And we're here in the United States. We're fortunate that tetanus is not a major issue. But in some countries around the world, it's a terrible ordeal to have to go through. And Kiwanis has done a great job of addressing that. If your club is not participating in the Eliminate project, I strongly encourage you. It's not too late to still try to help out. And just the ability to save a child's life. Don't let your club miss out on that opportunity. These are our district projects. We have 6 district projects. Of course, this one is the auditory verbal I've already mentioned. We're going to talk a little bit about each one of them. The auditory verbal has been around for now 36 years. Originally, it was based just in Atlanta. Now they have 2 facilities, one in Atlanta and one in Macon. It's to help children who are deaf. And, as far as it offers the, and I drew a blank last week, the cochlear implant, that's it. They use the cochlear implant to help deaf children. And one of our immediate past governor, Debbie Brilling, works and runs auditory verbal. I assure you, if your club is interested in knowing more about auditory verbal, what it does on the district level and how it helps children, just contact Debbie. She'll be more than happy to come speak to your club. The district art and music showcase, which started over 30 years ago. The next schedule, we couldn't have it this year because of COVID, but the next show is scheduled for April 24th. It'll be in Gainesville, Georgia. And it breaks down what the total amount of scholarships that comes from the district foundation provides $15,000 in scholarships. And that's, you know, so we recognize a lot of kids that participate in that. So I encourage your club to, you know, if you're not doing one, even from a member of a club that does one, I will say the art aspect is much easier to get started than the music. But, you know, it's a great program and opportunity for kids to be able to showcase their talents. And if you've ever been, not only do I encourage you to support it and try to do it on the local level, but go to Gainesville. You'll see some tremendous, just amazing talent that we have throughout the state of Georgia. Of course, our district foundation, this is kind of the, not many people realize that, you know, what the foundation does. It's kind of our hidden gem in Kiwanis. The district foundation, one of the biggest things they do is they have matching grants for clubs. And I was on the foundation for, I guess, about 5 or 6 years and have been off of it for about 5 years now. I think we currently have 150 clubs in the Georgia district. So hypothetically, the district could receive 150 applications for the matching grant program every year. On average, if we get a dozen, that's probably a high year. I mean, it just doesn't happen a lot. And you think about it from your club's perspective, if you've got a program going on that really needs to kind of kickstart, this is a great opportunity, because if you're spending $5,000 on this program that benefits kids, you can do a grant application. The district may match your grant, so now you have $10,000. And so, I mean, there's some criteria you got to go through. It's not just a matter of emailing somebody and say, I want the grant. I mean, you got to fill out applications and stuff like that. But, you know, I encourage people, and you know, I said this when I was on the foundation, make that job for foundation members difficult. Right now, it's really not, because they're not getting a whole lot of applications. But if they received 150 applications in a year, then they unfortunately we don't have the ability to help 150 clubs every year, but we do have the ability to help more than we're helping. And you know, and also by giving to the foundation, there's recognition awards. Henry Hines Award is a foundation award. He was instrumental in the founding of Kiwanis, and as a famous Georgian, his family goes back, you know, as far as starting Coca-Cola and so forth. So, but I encourage you to participate in the district foundation. Tomorrow's Leaders, it's a program for both Key Club and Circle K, their leadership, that they have conferences and conventions. This helps us support the leaders in the Georgia district, Circle K and Key Club. And it does tremendous. We have a great Key Club and Circle K in the Georgia district, and have had for many years. And part of it is because we support them through Tomorrow's Leaders. The Kiwanis Children's Fund, of course, the name changed a few years ago. It used to be just the International Fund, but it's now known as the Children's Fund. And that's the giving aspect of Kiwanis on the international level. And this kind of gives an example of things that the Kiwanis International Children's Fund does. They also have grants for club projects. You know, I look at it as, sometimes if you talk about these programs at your club, some of your members might be thinking, well, you know, we want to use our money locally. You know, we don't want to send it off to, you know, Indianapolis or, you know, Atlanta or wherever, and it not, you know, we want it to be you here locally. Well, the fact that Kiwanis International will send money back to you, I mean, to support your programs. And that happens for pretty much everything I've mentioned. You know, with Tomorrow's Leaders, if you got a Key Club or Circle K that your club is sponsoring, they can benefit from it. So all of these, you know, don't fall under the misconception that these Georgia districts don't serve your local communities, because they can. A lot of times you just have to ask. Key Leader is the last district project that we have on the district level. It's a weekend retreat for high school students. Primarily it's for underclassmen, But, you know, it doesn't mean that we would exclude a senior, but we're trying to build. And so, and it does not mean you don't have to be a member of Key Club to go to Key Leader. In fact, if you don't have a Key Club in your school, this is a great way to try to get it started. So send a sophomore one year, and then next year send another sophomore. Now you have 2 people that have been the Key Leader, and maybe you can get something going. So it's an opportunity to, you know, once again, provide leadership to high school students. The current one is planned to start. No specific details are known yet because we're still kind of dealing with COVID, and we really don't know how long we're going to be dealing with it, but we're looking for something in March to begin the Key Leader. So be on the lookout, you know, between, you know, getting information through email or through the Georgia Kiwanis, and make sure you keep up on that. Now, these are pretty much our district resources. I try to include everybody who covers certain areas. Of course, in my opinion, our greatest resource in the district is our executive director, Alexa Lieber. If you have a question about anything about Kiwanis, you can call Alexa or email her, and if she doesn't know the answer, which would probably be pretty rare, she'll find it out for you. And we're fortunate to have her. Of course, auditory verbal is past Governor Debbie Brilling, and that's her email and phone number. Georgia Carter is the current district foundation. She's the president of the district foundation, will be this year. So you can reach out to her if you have a question about the grant application process or what you need to do and so forth on that. Our Kiwanis International Children's Fund, Johnny Johnson previously served on Kiwanis International as both a trustee and on the back then it was the International Foundation, but Johnny is our contact through the Georgia District. Tomorrow's leaders, I listed the administrators for both Key Club and Circle K. Key Club is Brad Malone, and Circle K is Brent Leslie. And then the last resource I list on here is another one of our, what I would say, secrets in Kiwanis, is our district directory is on our district website. And you can find all this contact information out for not just these people, but for the entire district. Your lieutenant governors, your governors, the leadership for every, whatever the project is, you know, like this year's Key Leader, it'll have who the chairperson is for that. It has the chairperson for every event that we're having on the district level or the district sponsors. So the leadership, that's what's in this district directory. You can reach out to them. It also has club information, when clubs meet, the president and secretary of those clubs. It's important to make sure that, you know, as leaders in your club, the big day to make sure that that information goes into the district directories. June 1st is the deadline to submit your election results. So that's the reason why that deadline is June 1st, is so we can get it in that year's, or that following fall's directory. But when you go into the Georgia District website, which is georgiakiwanis.com, you can go under resources and see district directory. You have to submit a password. The current password is what I have listed right here, 2019 DD 2020. Now every year the password changes. It changes on October 1st, which starts the new year. The password that will change in, I guess it's 7 days from now. So next Thursday, the password will no longer be 2019 DD 2020. It will be 2020 DD 2021. It signifies the Kiwanis year, and then the DD stands for district directory. So easy password to remember. If you forget it, you can email Alexa, email me, email George, Byron, Daryl. We can all remind you of what the password is.
Can I throw out a quick shout out?
Certainly.
If they download the directory today, that will be for the 2019-2020, and that password is with that PDF. Next year's PDF will have the updated password. You don't use the password to download it from the website. It's actually attached to the document.
Okay. Well, thank you for pointing that out. So just remember that if if you do download it, you're downloading the one whose everybody's office and position will end in 7 days. So I would encourage you, and I'm not saying to not do anything these next 7 days, but wait a week and then get the new one.
Yeah,
you'll be good to go.
David, October 1st is when 2020 DD 2021 will be available.
Correct. Next thing I want to talk about is club finances. And this is probably the only aspect of the 4-day training that we've had that really, this was taught at the June, or if you haven't seen the Kiwanis International, but we felt that it was important to make sure clubs are aware as far as finances and responsibilities. Of course, I already mentioned Kiwanis Clubs currently qualify as a nonprofit, but we're not, you're not qualified for tax deductible donation unless you have a foundation. If you have a foundation, then of course clubs or people can donate to that foundation, and it is tax deductible. That can be very confusing for just your general members that don't realize that it's not tax deductible. The important, besides that, the next important thing is to make sure your club maintains 2 financial accounts. The first one is the administrative account. And in my way of thinking, and I've described it like this for years, the administrative account is money from Kiwanians for Kiwanians. So I've always described it, it's money from us as club members, and it's for us. So it's primarily, you know, it pays our dues, whether it's the international dues, the district dues, if you're, whatever your club dues are, that's all in the administrative account. Yes.
Can I ask you a question, or do I have to wait till the end?
No, you can ask a question.
If you can go back to that previous slide.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
So, if you can shed more light on this for me.
Okay.
The reason why I'm saying that, this is what I do for a living. I do taxes.
Yes, sir.
And I'm an enrolled agent with IRS. Once you have a 501c3 and you're a nonprofit, by IRS standard, by law, you can get donation and you can give anybody any paper. They can record it on their taxes and they will get their credit for it. No problem. So I just want to know, where does this 5014 come from before you can accept donation?
Well, I mean, any club can accept a donation. I mean, even if you don't have a foundation, because I would say probably, I don't even want to guess, but I would say less than half of the total number of clubs in the Georgia district, so we're talking less than 75, actually have a foundation.
Right.
Most clubs do not. But every club, well, I would say probably all 150 clubs are involved in some type of fundraising where they're asking people in the public to donate money to them. And most of that just comes into, we're fixing to talk about a little bit, their service account, and they use it to support projects. But some clubs do have a foundation, and so then they funnel that money into their foundation. So, and they normally will tell people this is tax deductible, the donation that you're making, and then they may use that foundation to, whether it's to support club projects or support scholarships or whatever they may do. But the primary reason, and this may not have been your question about it, but the reason why the normal Kiwanis Club, why donations to it are not tax deductible is because even if you didn't have money from outside or from people who are not Kiwanians in your community, even if clubs didn't have that, they're generating income from members, and they're paying, and they could be paying, the club could be paying meals or could be paying for dues to the international and district level, and those aspects to do that by, IRS standards are not, tax deductible as far as being able to write off for your taxes. And so I hope that kind of clarified as far as what the difference is and what the importance of clubs that would like to be able to tell people that their tax deductible donations must have a foundation.
David?
Yeah, I will look more into it because, again, if you look at it, it's almost like contradictory. 501c4, according to what is stated right here, they are not qualified to accept tax deductible donation.
Correct.
No, they can.
So if they are not qualified to accept donation, then tell me what is the purpose, and then you have to have a 501c3 that qualifies. So it's almost like they're working against each other.
I
Well,
might be able to clarify that. 501c4, if you have like a dealership or you have a company that's donating money and they donate it with the aspect of they are doing marketing, they are doing advertising, then when they give money to a 501c4 from a marketing standpoint, they can deduct it. But a lot of companies don't want to have those qualifiers. So a 50c3 is a non-qualified donation. It doesn't matter if you give it to a 501c3, it's deductible, period. If you give it to a 501c4, it can be deductible under certain rules, but you have to follow the rules.
Yeah, but
Does that help?
Yeah, but the question I'm asking, then why do we need both? Why do you
May I answer that?
one that is not qualified? You know, when you already have a 501c3, churches, little league, nonprofit, all these people, according to tax laws, they can get money and they can give paper to anybody who donated the money. They can write it off. It's not qualified. There's no string attached to it. There's no single problem with it. Then why do you have to complicate things with this 501c4?
I think somebody else said they were going to respond. I can give an answer.
By default, our clubs are 501c4. That's how we start. We start as a 501c4, period. That's how we start. If we decide that we want to become a tax deductible, a tax exempt kind of thing, we can qualify and do all the paperwork with the IRS to become a 501c3. That's special. That takes work. That takes effort. Many clubs don't do that. By default, every club starts out as a 501c4.
Okay.
It also takes more than work. It takes money. A 501c3 costs more, whether you have a bank account or what. A small club, unless they had some like major donor that would give them 10 grand a year, could not keep that licensing. It's not that 501c3 certificate. Also, it's also actually costs money. I know because we looked into it for the Doraville Tucker Club. And my husband's also an enrolled agent, and I wish he were here right now because he could probably tell us why, because he's been doing it for 36 years.
You mean to set it up? Is that what you mean?
Not just to set it up, but to maintain it. There's a 501c3 actually does have, anyway, I don't want to give you misinformation, but the minimum we could have gotten away with paying annually was $1,800. And sometimes basically we only spend $3,000.
It depends on the level. It depends on the level. There are three categories. If you are really making less than 50,000 in donation in a year, the tax filing takes about only 5 minutes. If you make more,
it's not the filing; it's the qualification at the bank. Anyway, why don't I have my husband get in touch with you?
I think I got my answer from Daryl, which says Kiwani was set up as a 501c4.
Yes.
I think that covers it right there. If they set up from the top as 501c4, everybody has to follow that queue then.
Realize Kiwanis would prefer for everything to be tax deductible. We don't have control over it. The IRS, unfortunately, is the one that set the rules as far as where we fall in to qualify. So that's, the difference. We as Kiwanis clubs really don't choose to not do it. It's just an IRS regulation.
I got you, David. I think, again, if the head is 501c4, I guess the rest of the body got to be 501c4.
Yes, because and it's been several years ago, Kiwanis International actually began the process to see if we could qualify as an organization to become 501c3. And I don't think we were the only nonprofit civic organization that was trying to get it done. I think it was us, probably Rotary, Lions, probably everybody. And the IRS was like, no. So it's just, one of the things in America we have to look forward to is paying taxes. We'll never cease. Once again, the administrative account, like I said, that's money from us, for us. One of the things in here, make sure as far as, like if you have internal fundraisers, you know, and a lot of people don't think about this. If you have, like if your club does a 50-50, you know, card draw at every meeting, if you have a guest come in who is not a member of your club, they can't buy a ticket, because, you know, then, you know, if they are, you can't keep that money in your administrative account because you've let an outside person participate in it. So just remember to keep that in mind. Anything administrative, that's money from Kiwanis club members that are for our expenses. The service account, I kind of flip that and say that's money from others to help others. So it's outside sources. This is your fundraisers and so forth that brings money into the club. Now, you can use administrative funds to pay for service account expenses, because a lot of clubs, depending on their fundraisers, they may have more money in their administrative account because they're, whether it's through dues or whatever, and their biggest expense may be meals. And if they're not spending a lot in meals, then they can use that money in their service account. What you can't do is you can't use fundraising money, so money in your service account, you can't turn that around and pay administrative cost. So just realize how those two things work. Money in your service account, that's money coming in from fundraisers and outside sources to be used to support projects and so forth. Any questions about any of those two accounts and the importance of making sure you maintain those two separate accounts? Okay, just remember, this is what our goal is. We always want to provide perform meaningful service. We're here for children are our priority. So it's all about finding that signature project. You know, identify what your club does and do it the best that you possibly can to impact the lives of children in your community. I do appreciate, we're a few minutes. Does there anybody have any questions, anything we haven't covered? And like I said, you know, use my email. Let me know what your clubs are doing, because I would love to develop a resource. We could put it in the district directory on the website that people could go to and look and say, okay, these are what clubs are doing. I know I'm myself and George are members of a new club in Warner Robins, and we actually had a member from Tattnall that came and talked about fundraising. We've started that, you know, that first Saturday raffle as well. Do it the same way Tattnall has done, and it's helped the Warner Robins Club to raise some money and give back to local programs in Warner Robins and in Houston County. So there's a lot that we can learn from what other clubs are doing. So, and a lot of times we don't communicate well. I mean, we have great resources, but sometimes we just don't realize it. And so hopefully, you know, Resource Guide will allow people to look and see and help everybody. Any questions? Anybody want to share? We got a few more minutes. I'd love to hear what your club is doing that is working.
David, I'd like to say something. In this period of COVID-19, a lot of our clubs' fundraising ventures throughout the year historically are out the window. And now it's time for the clubs to step up and start something new, do something new to get funds. I understand there's some clubs that have foundations and they can have a lean year, but there's a lot of clubs that aren't that fortunate. So it's time to think of something else you can do to raise funds. You can do it social distancing, you can do it online. I would say if you want some suggestions about doing online, get a hold of Dan Bennett from the Tattnall County Kiwanis Club. I'll try to get his contact information out, but he could do a Zoom meeting or he could come in person sometimes, but great ways to do things. Minimum contact with money and or people. So I'll type his contact information in on the chat.
And I put a link in the chat for some virtual fundraiser resources that Kiwanis.org has. So if you go through the chat, you'll see a link there that you can find some resources that are already out there for you.
And if your club has not been meeting since COVID started, or since a lot of clubs stopped meeting, whether that was March or April, some clubs, of course, stopped charging dues. Some clubs continue to charge dues. which that's fine, whatever a club wanted to do, I'm not questioning that. But I would encourage, if you're a member of a club that has not been meeting and you've still been paying dues, I would encourage, find something that your club can do to make an impact in your community. Using the Tatnall example, if it's buying picnic tables, because that means your club, by charging and members paying dues for the last 6 months, even if you didn't have fundraisers, you've got a surplus of income that normally was probably used to pay meals that you haven't had to spend. So find something that your club can make an immediate impact on this fall to let your community know that Kiwanis is alive and well and wanting to help, better your community.
Can I say something from Griffin?
Certainly.
Johnny mentioned our fair, which starts tomorrow. So if anybody's in the area, we'd love to have you. I know a lot of fairs have been canceled, but we got Modern Midways and they got 35 rides. But we do 2 other projects, which I feel strongly about. One is we have Pancake Day. Any club can cook pancakes, and our club has done this for many years, and we give away $7,000 to $10,000 in scholarships for kids out of Pancake Day. And another project we do at Christmas time is we partner with the Salvation Army and ring a bell throughout Griffin. Well, we have this relationship with the Rotary Club. They ring the bell, so we have a great contest between the two. And this year we're giving away a big trophy between the 2 clubs. It's a great rivalry that benefits our community and gives us awareness within the community that we're doing something, in Griffin, Georgia, besides the fair. So I love those 2 projects. I love the fair. Come play bingo with us at the fair. We'd love to have you.
Hey, this is Tony Beagler from Skidaway Island. Can I talk about a project?
Sure.
We have a program going, an annual.
Certainly.
We have an annual program going that's not impacted at all by the pandemic. It was a project first, and now it's an ongoing annual program. I'm gonna try to share my screen. I've never done that, to show you what I'm talking about here. And hold on. Oh, my screen sharing is disabled, so I can't show you. Anyway, what we do, we created an annual flag program where we created or made bases to put flags in, and we put them in people's yards on 4 holidays a year. We do that on Veterans Day, on President's Day, on Memorial Day, and on 4th of July. We charge them $50 a year to do that, and what we do on each holiday, several days ahead, we go out and put these flags in their yard. We leave them there, and several days after the holiday, we go out and collect them and store them until the next one. We have over 4,200 houses here on Skidaway Island, and right now we have 800 people signed up for this program, and last year we made $65,000 on that.
Wonderful.
This is ongoing every year. It was a big project in the beginning, took a lot of, I wish I could show you the picture because it's beautiful. But it was a lot of effort by volunteers to create all these flag bases and things. But now it's an ongoing program just every year. And we got 800 now, we got over 4,200 houses here. So there's still lots of opportunity, and we keep promoting this program.
And a program like a flag program, I can see it just catching fire and being contagious, because you've got 800 on Skidaway Island right now. I mean, the more people will see them and they'll be like, okay, I want to get a flag. So you really don't have to, once you get it started and you get numbers like that, then it publicizes itself. So that is tremendous that y'all are doing that. And I would say, to me, the most successful fundraisers, if you can tie it to a project. And so you're not just trying to sell a ticket or sell anything. You can tell people this is what your donation will do, or what Kiwanis is doing with it. Anybody have anything else? Well, we have reached the 8 o'clock hour. Anybody has any comments? You know, I know that myself and George and Daryl and we'll be happy to stick around and answer your questions, but if not, we have finished our training. I wish you the most successful year for your club. And if there's anything that we can do, I know that the leadership of Georgia will be there to assist you.